Let's talk about a complete checklist. When you're thinking about your CRNA application, saying you're an ICU nurse and you're thinking you're ready to go ahead and apply to CRNA school, maybe you're just thinking about your career. What do you want to do specifically in nursing? And you know for sure you want to become a CRNA. I think it's important for you to know early on, as much as early as possible, even before you decide to even go to school, to kind of go over what your expectations are, what are some of the things you need to think about in order to become a CRNA. And so this video is going to be great because it's going to go into much detail about specifically your checklist, a tutorial, okay, kind of go over exactly what you need. So definitely grab some tea, just like me, and get a piece of paper, and let's just start writing down notes. And also I want you to comment below. Tell me what other questions that you have about your application. Maybe you're in Texas, maybe you're in California, maybe you're in Wisconsin, and you're thinking about your application and your application process. What are some unique things have you seen when you've looked at your application? When you're thinking of becoming a CRNA, just be aware that it's going to take 7 to 10 years from start to finish to become a CRNA. So be mindful of that. You know, it can be as quick as 7 years. It could be as long as 10 years. It all depends on how far you are on your journey. You know, if you're starting from scratch, you know, it could be as long as 10 years, maybe this all depends on you from start to finish. So start thinking and being aware it's going to be a long process, and it's okay. But saying you're at the point now that you're ready, you're at the point you're ready to become a CRNA and you are ready for the application. Let's go through the checklist. So first you have to become a bachelor's prepared nurse and become a registered nurse, take your NCLEX and get your training under your belt. Then you have to go into the ICU. You need a minimum of 1 to 3 years of ICU training. It could be critical care, it can be surgical, it can be neuro, it can be medical. There's so much trauma. You just need a minimum of 1 year, but it's about 1 to 3 years depending on the program. So just be considerate of that. Now, just remember when you were in school for your bachelor's degree, you want to start thinking about your grades. You want to do as good as you can, because when you talk about your GPA, it's usually about a 3.0 or better, but to be truly competitive, a 3.5 or higher. But it doesn't say that if you have a 3.0 GPA that you won't get accepted into a CRNA program. That's not true. There have been many CRNAs who are currently practice who've had a lower GPA, but they had something that they had as an advantage under their table. It could be research, it could be community service, it could be leadership opportunities. It could be so many things. But as low as a 3.0 GPA, but you want to try to strive for a 3.5 GPA. So just think about that when you're thinking about your application. Then you're going to need to take the GRE examination. I mean, pretty much most programs require you to have a GRE score of 300, but it's approximately about 50% of schools. But you gotta think about this too. Saying, for example, you have a 3.5 GPA when you were in nursing, and for example, you took the GRE and you didn't do very well. But some schools will just, if you have a 3.5 GPA or higher, they'll still accept you into the program without your GRE score. It doesn't even matter sometimes. So just think about that when you're thinking about your GRE. But 50% to 75% of schools will require it. So when you are a registered nurse, saying you're in ICU, for example, you're getting your experience, they're going to require you to get your BLS, ACLS, PALS, for example. So of course, when you're thinking about school, they're going to require you to have those certifications under your belt, because when you are doing your rotations in the hospitals, you're going to do as little as newborns to geriatric population. So you're going to need all those type of certifications for advanced life support. Now also, even though you have your experience, you've went through your nursing and you've gotten your degree, some schools will require you to take special extra prerequisite courses. Some schools may say, hey, we want biochemistry. Maybe we want, organic chemistry. So for example, when you're thinking about that, you're going to have those prerequisite courses. So just think about that while you're thinking about your application. Now, it's very interesting. About 40% of schools will actually require you now to shadow a CRNA up to 8 to 40 hours. So to make sure that you really know the expectations of what the job is like to become a CRNA, what the expectation is, the knowledge base. So just be aware you're probably gonna have to shadow a CRNA, and that's very important when you think about your application. Now, about 70% of schools will require to have your CCRN. So a lot of times when you're actually in the ICU, after a year of experience or 6 months, depending on where you're working, you can go ahead and take the certification exam for CCRN. So just make sure you're aware that you're going to need that for your application. So some other things to think about when you think about your application. So you're going to, of course, have to fill out the application. You're probably going to have to require 3 letters of recommendation. You're going to have a statement about why you want to become a CRNA. You're going to need a resume. Some programs will require you to have a criminal background, but that's all dependent on the school. You have to pay your application fee. And depending on your application, if they're interested in you, you're going to have to do an interview. So then you're going to think about the personal interview, for example. And it's upon invitation. So for example, 200 students applied to a school. Maybe 60 of those students that they're interested in are going to be invited to do an interview. And out of those 60 students, they're going to choose 30 students for their program. So even though you do your application and they accept you for an interview, you still have to go through the interview in order to be chosen to become to be part of their CRNA program. I know a lot of this video was very detailed, but I hope that this helped you to start thinking about your CRNA journey, thinking about your application, so you have everything pretty much checked off to make sure that you're right at where you need to be at. And if you haven't completed all of those things, it's okay. Just take your time and go through the what you need to make a little checklist, like what we just spoke about, and go through the things that you need to complete. But no matter if you haven't completed all these things, you're pretty much ready now. You're ready to pursue to become a CRNA. And if you haven't even started your journey, it's okay. You are ready now. You are watching this video now and you want to become a CRNA. So I hope this helped you. What are some things, depending on the schools you're applying to, that that's unique, for example. I would love to hear it in the comments below. So if you want to learn more about becoming a CRNA and how to grow your CRNA career, definitely click on one of the videos over here, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you.